A Frontier. These are the voyages of the podcast Captain Slog. Its ongoing mission to explore strange new episodes, to seek out new jokes and new references, to split infinitives that no one has split before. Captain Slog, Stardate 72 brackets B, close brackets. Yeah, Trex podcast. I'm Eddie. That's Mark. Mark, how you been?
I'm good. The reason that this is the second take is that I have a lot of screens open, and I didn't realise that my Audacity wasn't recording because I've put you over it. Because as we've explained in the past, when I'm on a video call, I like to look at the little box that has me in it.
Yeah.
And not you. For reasons that will remain a mystery to me. I just think I'm quite an interesting guy to look at when I'm moving around. I don't get to see that a whole lot. Do you know what I mean? When I look in the mirror, it's kind of just a photograph of me not doing anything. But when I get to move around, I'm like, oh, look at that guy. He's got some interesting eye movements.
I've got no problem with people not wanting to look at me. My entire look is a series of tactical retreats. I grew a beard because I was fucking ugly, and then my hair fucked off. That's so yeah. Feel free. I don't think anybody should be forced to look at me. No. It's one of the main reasons why I'm so grateful to my girlfriend that she bizarrely willingly does, which might be related to the fact that she's had a brain tumour, but
but we already did the how are you bit in the first recording, and I'm not. They call me One Take Mark.
Yeah, you're like Calculon.
So you can make up your own mind about how we are. This week, as a special treat for everyone, we're going to go straight into this episode of Star Trek about the Enterprise abducting Jesus briefly.
Yeah, it's a space Jesus.
Yeah,
he gets amnesia, which weirdly he could cure, but he doesn't.
Yeah. Then he gets a special morph suit.
Yeah,
as the original Jesus had.
It is so obviously just a man in a morph suit, in a high-vis morph suit at the end. He might as well have the mocap dots on him.
Do you know that way that I was looking at it, and I thought, I wonder if this looks better in standard definition, and it almost certainly doesn't.
It's they stumble across a planet. There's a crashed guy on it. They beam down, and it's like the first thing that happens is that his body isn't doing the automatic stuff, so they sync up his brain with Geordie's, so that Geordie can do like his breathing and his heartbeat for something, and then like an energy beam transfers through to Geordie, and then Geordie throughout the episode is acting more confident, and it really sets up this guy that guy's memories are somehow stored in Geordie, and Geordie's not got that, and then the episode does nothing with that as a concept.
I mean, what's happened there is that you've fundamentally misunderstood the episode. Because that's not what happened. Because that's what we all thought happened. We all thought, oh, this is some... Right, so the episode starts off with Geordie and Worf in 10 Forward. And Christy Henshaw, the civilian on the Enterprise, who Geordie went on the creepy beach holodeck date with, who, didn't put out, even after all that effort that Geordie put in. In a post-brand world, gotta stop making jokes like that. Yeah.
He's a nice guy. He put enough nice guy tokens into the woman. She should have given him the sex.
Yeah, exactly. And now she's finally realised that, Geordie did actually put enough tokens in. So she starts hitting on him, and Geordie can't take it. So Worf turns to him and says, Geordie, you have to let us see the fire in your eyes. To which Geordie gives... I mean, he could be giving a camera take. We don't know. But... And so it's not so much. So I thought when they find the body and the CGI goes into Geordie's brain, I was like, oh well, that's that guy's brain in Geordie's head, and he's just going to be hiding it. sort of a Freaky Friday situation.
Yeah.
But it's not. The guy just unlocked the confidence that Geordie already tamped down.
Can we discuss the line, "Let her see the fire in your eyes," that Worf said without a trace of irony to a man whose eyes can never be seen?
Yeah.
Did he should have drawn little eyes. He should put little googly eyes on the front of the visor, and then he can put some fire in the background, and that'll work.
Googly eyes in the front of the visor isn't the worst idea in the world. It would make him slightly less menacing.
It's not the best idea in the world either. Let's be clear on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, actually, to be fair, the visor's just kind of a shit idea. There should have been some better way to communicate that he was blind, but not really blind. You know, like Matt Murdock. How? If you can tell how many fingers I'm holding up, you're not really blind. That's what I'm saying. I think that's fair.
I don't know, man. I think, isn't that kind of like saying, well, the wheelchair got you from point A to point B, so you can't possibly be paralysed from the neck down. That's because we saw you move.
No, but if you were paralysed from the neck down, but you had enough, like if you were incredibly powerful telekinetic and you were paralysed from the neck down, but because you were telekinetic, you could still tap dance. I'm not going to count that as paralysed.
I get, yeah, 'cause you'd have to concentrate on it quite a lot, wouldn't you?
Right, but
you'd probably be quite quiet. So it'd be useless for me. I'd have to keep all my opinions to myself. And in which case, what would be the point? I'd just end it. They'd be like, Jake, that guy ended it because of his harrowing physical injury. And you'd be like, no, he ended it because he couldn't have a moan about why does the fucking Ethernet cable in the back of the Xbox not work anymore. I don't understand. It's plugged directly into the router. Why does it take fucking 5 minutes to boot up? Is it the wiring in the house? This is all stuff that Laura's going to really enjoy listening back to this episode because she has to hear this 3 times a day. I mean, the Ethernet cable now running from the router to my PC doesn't fucking work either.
Have you got any other networking problems?
I don't understand why the Fire Stick in the office has a really good connection, but the one in the living room doesn't.
Okay. If anybody can answer these questions for Mark, James, if you know anything about this sort of thing, please give it a listen. Oh, and also, actually, I just wanted to do this because we shout out James quite a lot as our only listener. But if you are another listener who isn't James has a podcast called Helmets, where him and a friend talk about American football.
Yeah.
Which will appeal to at least one person who I know listens to this.
James?
No. Leader, give this a listen.
Yeah, it's good.
I should point out, I need to be clear there. I know someone whose surname is Leader. I'm not a member of a cult. I wasn't shouting out a leader. That would be weird.
What would a cult have to offer you to get you to join?
I'll be honest with you. I mean, a PS5 would do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with my love life. Pretty happy with my sex life. I don't love. I like manual labour.
Mind altering substances would do it. Like,
Yeah,
if you tell me,
drugs.
I can like take you to on a trip to another planet.
Yeah.
I'd be like, well, that's not true. And then if you gave me drugs that made me think that you'd done that, I'd be like, well, yeah, okay, I know that was actually drugs, but I enjoy drugs, so.
Obviously, the top selling point is that eventually I will die by suicide. That's really. You've got me on the hook then. After that, it's just about the logistics of the minutiae.
I want the ability to check out before it all comes too painful. I think they call it pulling a Pratchett.
If a cult was like, you can get the Tesco club card prices without needing a club card, I'm in.
Right.
And then drinking bleach. That's all I would need.
I was so annoyed when Trump started going on that people should inject bleach to fight COVID, because before he did that, there was actually a niche group that believed in the health benefits of injecting bleach, and I had 5 minutes on that, and then suddenly it became hackneyed. Everybody was doing a bleach drinking bit. Just ruined it for me. I think that was really the worst thing about Trump's presidency. They ruined that one bit of material I had.
Did you know that Fairy Liquid, the washing up liquid, available here in the UK for any of our multitude of international listeners?
Yeah, not made with real fairies.
No, they done an advertising campaign that said that Fairy Liquid is literally twice as good at cleaning as any other brand. And then one of the other brands challenged them on this advertising, so they done a test and they discovered that Fairy Liquid is actually better than double effective at cleaning than any other brand. In an advertising campaign essentially sponsored by the people that challenged them. It's not that funny, but that is a real thing that happened once.
Right, this episode.
This episode of Star Trek.
Right, okay. They find a Jesus.
They find a Jesus.
Yeah, and he can do Jesus things.
Your standard Jesus.
Yeah, now, okay.
He does the healings. He makes people feel good about themselves.
Beverly wants to fuck him.
Just like the original Jesus. Wesley thinks that his mum's love for him is isolating their relationship.
Imagine that what happened with the disciples. They didn't have happy home lives. They went off wandering around.
Yep.
You know?
Picard sort of gives him a bit of a side eye.
Okay, so the Jesus, who is called John Doe, which is offensive, I think, as a Star Trek fan, he should have been called a space version of John Doe, which I imagine would be John Doe.
No, it would just be John Doe, but there's an apostrophe in it. But not where do you think?
I've written it down: JO''ON D''OE.
Yep, there you go.
Because apostrophes mean space.
Yeah.
It's the only. Why is apostrophe the only punctuation that gets used in space names? You never see an asterisk in there, do you?
It's bizarre because apostrophes get used in Earth names, in mine, for example, and still I can tell when a company is made by someone who is English, because they don't program the apostrophe into the language thing.
Yep.
So my name in emails is like, Dear Mr. Mark O / I think it's /; Neil, because that's like the ASCII. I think it's ASCII. I don't know. I know as much about programming as I do about Star Trek. Right. That's to program an apostrophe, but they don't do it, so the computer can't recognize it. So it's caused problems in the past. It's an issue. But
yeah,
we're not here to talk about that.
No,
we're here to talk about Space Jesus.
Right, so I wanted to look up Space Jesus, because I regularly do when we have a featured guest star. I like to have a quick look through their IMDb and see what they're known for. This is an actor called Matty Fresno. Called Mark Lamara. Right, sorry.
I can see the confusion there, yeah.
No. But I looked him up. He's in like 43 episodes of All My Children. Nothing special. No. But he is in a movie that has the best movie name I've ever seen. I'm going to read you the movie name and the tagline. It's called Matty Fresno and the Hollow Flux Universe, a tale of public relations, hallucination, assassination, and theoretical physics. Now, I want to watch that.
That's pretty good, but it's not as good as the horror movie titled Don't Fuck in the Woods 2.
Have you seen the horror movie that's coming out called The Blackening?
No.
Where it's a slasher movie where every character is black. The tagline is The Blackening. We can't all die first.
Excellent.
That is like 10 out of 10 no notes.
I wonder. So Laura and I have been on an exploration of tropes recently.
Yeah.
For various reasons pertaining to the wedding, and we've been thinking about romantic comedy tropes. And think of it. I think I'm willing to bet, not money. I'm willing to bet that the number one romantic comedy trope, if I asked you what it was, I think you'd give the same answer as me. What do you reckon is, if I asked you about a romantic comedy trope, just like a thing that happens in a lot of romantic comedies, what is it?
Okay, at some point the couple nearly break up due to a misunderstanding that could be resolved if they just spoke to each other and asked what was going on.
Oh, see, I thought it was the one where they're both carrying big piles of files, and then they walk into each other, and then they have to rearrange their files and get their files back, which doesn't happen as often as you think it does.
You see, in my head, my version of that is always the two people get pulled together by their Dalmatians, which has only happened once, but it's really buried in my mind.
So I'm curious. Like I mean, I'd love to do this as a project, but like literally every project I've ever started, I'd get about a quarter of the way into it and then get bored. I wonder if anyone has actually done the metrics of how often is the first person killed in a horror movie the black guy?
I don't know about that. I know there is a podcast called Final Girl where they just assess the final girls of horror movies.
There's a really good book called Men, Women and Chainsaws, which is about it's written by Carolyn something. I can't remember. It's fantastic, but it's about horror tropes and gender.
Okay.
And the first chapter of the revised edition is basically her going on a rant about how she fucking hates that she invented the entire final girl trope. Because people were like, oh, well, this is truth. And she's like, no, it really isn't. Like, it's... yeah, she goes on I can't remember the details, so I'm going to leave that story just hanging. So if you want to go and read the book, I don't know. I've just sold another copy.
I know that she wasn't a comic book writer when she came up with this term, but Gail Simone, who's one of the greats out there, she came up with the term women. Her original website was called Women in Fridges, which was a direct response to a Green Lantern storyline where a love interest is introduced, has maybe 2 lines of dialogue, and then the next time you see her, she's dead in a fridge just to motivate the hero. It's so bad. Yeah.
No fridging in this episode.
No, none. No. But for those who are collectors of
O'Brien Watch,
Miles O'Brien, this episode does feature special wetsuit edition Miles O'Brien, which is the first time I think we've seen O'Brien out of uniform. Which is a weird thing I've apparently kept track of.
Yeah, me too. We should come up with a jingle as well for O'Brien Watch. We should come up with a jingle for that can't possibly be how the holodeck works. Because I get the whole idea. Because the thing about the holodeck is that the holodeck is, how does it do water? Because he's kayaking.
Right.
So does it just fill up with water? What's the deal? And then what happens when you open the arch?
We know water can come out because Picard got snowballed.
Oh yeah.
So God, yeah, it must just fill with water.
And we
have a force field near the door.
We know that there is a because it was confirmed in a recent episode of Lower Decks. We know that that one of the ensign jobs on the starship is to get rid of the holodeck waste.
Right. Okay.
And it's in like a big tube thing, like a big cartridge dealy.
I thought it would work like the replicators, where you just put stuff back in and it just like takes them back and goes, oh, I'll store these molecules for later in case I need to make anything else with these molecules.
The problem is that joke isn't as funny, so can't do it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I wonder because I kind of get the people who say that like Lower Decks isn't canon, even though we know it demonstrably is canon now. It's in there, right? It's never gone. But there are some things in Lower Decks that it's like, oh yeah, that really fucks up. I have no idea of how any of this works.
Like, here's the thing: if you're gonna say that, like, cetacean ops is a dumbass joke, but it's a joke that wasn't made in Lower Decks. It's in TNG. It was first made like in TNG. Yeah. It's in the TNG. It's there. So don't get your panties in a bunch that Star Trek is stupid now. It's been stupid for years.
Yeah.
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 I like this episode.
I really like this episode. I actually think this is a like top tier Star Trek episode.
It had a scene that I absolutely adored, which was it's Geordi and Data trying to work out where this guy is from, and they've got some information that they've managed to get out of a data bank that's biological in nature.
Yeah,
and it is a series of them trying to solve puzzles. They're trying to solve a puzzle, and everything they say is complete bollocks. Like it's they're using scientific explanations, but each scientific explanation sounds plausible enough that I appreciate that they were intelligent for working out that they could do that.
Yeah, and yeah, like you wouldn't like I love Strange New Worlds, but you wouldn't get this scene in a Strange New Worlds. It's not exciting enough for the TikTok generation because it literally is like I'd say a good 90 seconds of going to Data's face. Data says something that is just psycho science babble. And then cut to Geordie going, yeah, maybe that'll work. And then what about this? And they slowly work their way through the problem. Which, as you know, we've always said is the appeal of Star Trek. It's smart people using their brains to solve problems.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, so hold on a minute. We know from this data that these are course corrections, which we can match his course, which those course corrections match up to certain stars.
Yeah.
We know the gravitational, and then they find out, fortunately, that his home planet is like on their way, is where they're going. So that's handy.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. But I really like this. So I think, was it Ronald D. Moore who said, so the plot of this episode is basically they pick up a space Jesus, but the space Jesus can't remember anything, but the space Jesus has the power to heal himself fairly rapidly.
Yeah, and also he heals
others.
O'Brien. He touches him and heals his dislocated shoulder, which means that I think that's lay on hands, means he's at least a level 1 paladin.
Do you think O'Brien's a Catholic?
No.
No, probably not.
I think O'Brien's probably a Protestant.
What?
No.
No, yeah.
No, I think in the future they don't have religion. Wouldn't it be mental to find out that like O'Brien's like Hindu?
Yeah. O'Brien, the famous Shinto name. So this episode was written by, and I might butcher this, Renee Echevarria, and I'll go with they because I don't know. Oh, it's a lad, so he presumably, I don't know. We'll find out. So he said that he also wrote The Offspring.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, which is a great band. And he said that.
That's another very Space Jesus-y episode, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he loves a space Jesus. This already, but he said that we've seen beings who were physical who became energy based, and obviously we've seen beings that are physical, but we've never seen the transformation between the two.
Yeah.
So that's what this one is for, which is that's like a super interesting concept. Like I really can't think of anywhere else that happens. Like to the point where the only thing I can really equate this to is almost like the X-Men, where it's the jumping off point of a new branch of evolution that the people sort of left behind in the old branch of evolution don't agree with. Like they're scared of it.
I'm so happy that you mentioned X-Men. Because
Excellent.
I got a similar vibe from this episode, and it reminded me of something that I haven't thought about in ages, and I had to look it up. Are you aware of the 1996 comic book Star Trek /X?
Yeah.
Where Spock beats up Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Wolverine's very strong. Like,
Yeah.
but he's not got super strength. He's just basically got the idea. As far as I can work out with Wolverine is, when you exercise, you work out, and you're causing micro tears in your muscles, and it's them healing that makes them strong. Well, obviously that means that when Wolverine went to the gym the first time, he just did 1,000 reps and ended up huge. Right?
Yeah.
Right. So Wolverine's just is quite strong, but Vulcans are 4 times as strong as humans, and the Vulcan nerve pinch doesn't rely on your ability to, you can't heal from it.
Yeah.
It just knocks you out. So he just knocked out Wolverine quite quickly. Yeah, and there's also Planet X, which is the X-Men meet the TNG crew. So look those up. Those exist if you want to see Riker. One of the most interesting things about that, of course, is the meeting between Picard and Xavier.
Yeah.
Where Patrick Stewart is obviously playing both roles.
Do they mention that they look similar?
I don't know. Well, to be fair, from Xavier's point of view, they don't look that similar because he's not used to like looking at himself from like below. He doesn't look up and go, the bottom of that man's chin looks quite similar to mine.
Very pointy. Got a pointy chin, old Patrick. Old jaggy chin.
But anyway, I like the concept because what happens is they go back to his homeworld, and just as they're getting there, his memory jumps back in, and he's like, "Oh, we can't go here. They're going to try and kill us." And it turns out that their species he's from has been on the cusp of evolving to the energy being stage, and they have this, and it's. Instead of embracing that, they've gone, no, that seems like it might be dangerous. Let's kill everyone who reaches that level.
Which is what Brexit 2 is going to be about.
What?
With Middle England voting to remove itself from the concept of evolution. And there's not going to be an E in it. The X will just be capitalised so that people will be like, oh, I think it's an X-Men reference. Anyway, back in your bunker.
Okay, I've got a genuine question about this, right? Okay, the Federation, we assume in the Federation that Earth has one government that governs the Earth.
Yeah.
We have, right.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Right.
United Earth, yeah.
Yeah. Does that include Switzerland? Or are they remaining bafflingly neutral still at that point? We need criminals to have somewhere to store all their money. And it's like, well, we've got rid of the concept of money. Well, now it's even more important.
Yeah, do you think... Yeah, because let's face it, man. Like, that Nazi gold still flies because it's gold more than it's Nazi. But as soon as money isn't worth anything, Switzerland is really fucked.
I can imagine the Ferengis and the Swiss getting on quite well.
Yeah.
It's like, it is Nazi gold, and they'd be like, I don't care. Well, nobody in the rest of the... Actually, that's a good point. How quickly, when human beings get introduced to the rest of space, how quickly are we going to be? Are we going to be able to explain that the swastika is no?
Yeah, we don't use that anymore. Yeah.
You see this on anyone ever? Kill them on sight.
Yeah. And then the problem is those aliens go back to say 1901. When the swastika was the official symbol of the Girl Scouts of America. And their troop magazine was literally called the Swastika.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Massacre, mate.
Oh, Jesus.
They just beamed down some bully XL dogs. Let them rip. Quite literally. There's just a bunch of fucking dead Girl Scouts and swastikas everywhere. Is it my birthday?
So, are we? I've never heard this before. Are we suggesting that maybe Hitler was just a big fan of the Girl Scouts?
I'm not saying anything. I'm not making any accusations until Channel 4 and Dispatches make a documentary. But because I don't want to get sued. We need a Daniel Sloss of this situation. We need someone braver than we are to step forward and say, you know what, Hitler loved them Girl Scouts.
Daniel Sloss is doing the... I'm going to Critical Role doing a live game in the UK at the end of October, and previously all of this was fronted by a guy called... Like, whenever they did that, like, their MC for the evening was always Brian Foster, because he was going out with Ashley Johnson. But he's now... But he has since been arrested for what turned out to be quite a horrific domestic violence situation with Ashley Johnson.
Bummer for Ashley Johnson, not bummer that he get arrested. Fuck that guy. Straight fuck that guy.
So now they've relied... They've got Dan
also,
Sloss doing it.
Sorry that my response to finding out that someone was horribly domestically abused was bummer.
No, it is a bummer.
It's bad news. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, so they're now. But Matt and Marisha from Critical Role are good friends with Daniel Sloss, and Daniel Sloss is going to do it. And it's like, I've got a sneaking suspicion he's going to get a standing ovation.
Yeah.
Dan Sloss might be the most stand-up guy. I just want to say, sorry. Okay, right, because I've seen this a lot on X, Twitter, but nobody cares that you don't. You never thought Russell Brand was funny. That's the equivalent of if a cab driver got arrested for a series of horrific rapes, and you went, "Oh, I got in his cab once. He nearly went the wrong way at Blackwall Tunnel." Shit, cabbie. That it adds nothing to the debate. It's not about whether or not Russell was good at his job. It's about whether or not he's a sex criminal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I did like him back in the day.
Yeah, so did I.
I'm man enough to admit that.
Yeah.
I thought he was an interesting breath of fresh air at the time.
Yeah. And
when I was fucking 17.
Yeah, and then he went all conspiracy theory and weird to surround himself with fans who didn't believe the mainstream media. What reason could he have possibly had for doing that?
Yeah, yeah. Did you know that when he got so he was a judge on season 1 of Roast Battles, and Catherine Ryan called him out, and he was not happy about it, and Jimmy called him out as well. He went to the producers furious, saying that he refused to be roasted. So after that episode, the contestants weren't allowed to roast him, which completely defeats the purpose of being a fucking roast judge. They couldn't fire him, however. So what they did was they basically made his contract for season 2 so unrealistic that he was forced to quit. Which I think is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Kevin Ryan's another hero.
Yeah.
And also, if he, I can't believe I'm going to say this, if he was willing to call him a sex offender to his face, fair play to Jimmy Carr. Jimmy Carr's another one. Don't take that out of context. But Jimmy Carr's another one where I might eat humble pie in this in a few years, but I think there's nothing in Jimmy Carr's closet. I don't think you could be that controversial and have skeletons in your closet. No, he's like a Frankie Boyle. I like if Frankie Boyle's pissed off enough people. Like that's the thing with Jimmy Carr. He said enough stuff and pissed off enough people that somebody would have dug into him.
Yeah,
and yeah.
There's a really good quote about Frankie Boyle that it was Richard. Someone asked Richard Osman about Frankie Boyle and like why are they such good friends. And Richard Osman replied, Frankie Boyle legitimately is one of the most thoughtful, generous, wonderful, caring, beautiful human beings on the face of the planet until you put a mic in his hand, at which point he becomes a complete sociopath.
So they
and I like to think I see a little bit of myself in that.
So they're clearly showing the series of Taskmaster with Frankie on it in America now, and there's one American I follow called Matt Colville, who's a D&D guy, and he's tweeting out live tweeting as he's watching Taskmaster, and he's just tweeting out these sentences with Greg going, so Frankie, why is a child's drawing better than a bed? And he goes, I don't fucking care.
No, it was the who gives a fuck.
Yeah, who gives a fuck? And Matt Colville was like, I think I might love Frankie Boyle.
Oh. Yeah. Is there any Geordie gets a date with Chrissy Henshaw?
Yeah.
Seemingly completely unproblematically. Full promotion to Geordie.
The episode as well, something weird about this episode I need to point out is it's mentioned in the episode that Geordie's change of character has been ongoing for the last month. So this episode takes place over a month, which is quite a long time for a Star Trek episode. And I quite like that. They were because they were on a mapping mission, and it's quite nice to go, no, nothing happened. We found a guy, and then for a month Geordie was more successful with women, but we didn't think that warranted a full investigation.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, I think I've mentioned it before on this podcast, but there's an episode of the podcast The Infinite Monkey Cage with Professor Brian Cox, and Patrick Stewart is on it. And Brian says to him, how come the Enterprise never goes to planets that just have nothing on them? Like, why does every planet have a civilization? And Patrick Stewart replies, we just don't show those episodes.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite cool. Like, I like the idea that, there kind of would be a lot of nothing. I mean, I guess everyone's at work, right? Like, if you're in science, if you're working science on a starship, you are presumably still doing experiments and figuring things out, like
and publishing papers and stuff.
Publishing papers, you would be doing all that stuff. Like, it is kind of, because I think that we think of the Federation timeline as being like a utopia where it's like, well, you can have a job if you fancy it, but really, at the end of the day, you can kind of just do sort of whatever you want most of the time, as long as it's in line with like what society kind of expects or needs or requires from you. And I guess being on even the flagship is kind of like that most of the time as well.
Yeah,
because it's not, because a kind of a lazier episode would have been like, no, maybe not even a lazier episode, but just like we would see the passage of time by them going on like different missions and coming back, and O'Brien dislocating his other shoulder.
Yeah, what I really like about this is because it does really sum up the fact that people like to think that Star Trek there's a lot going on all the time, but you think about it, we only get sort of 20-ish, 24 episodes I think is a season at this point. So it's 24 adventures happen in a standard year, which is 52 fucking weeks, and those adventures all take about 45 minutes of their time from that week. So there's like plenty of time when this stuff isn't going on, when you assume it's quite dry and boring Starfleet-y things. In a weird way, I kind of want someone to do an episode now with Star Trek where literally nothing happens. Like, you know, it's just like Geordie's day. Well, not Geordie. They're not making Star Trek with Geordie. And I'd say I'd want a Strange New Worlds, but this is the truth. We're going to be waiting a really fucking long time for the next series of Strange New Worlds because of the writer's strike. So,
which fine.
Yeah, fine. I get it. But you know, cliffhanger, bastards.
Yeah.
Worf dies in this episode.
Oh yeah. Worf's stunt double, Smiley Joe. I presume. I don't know if it is Smiley Joe for sure. He gets full on thrown off a balcony and dies. Full scale dies. Yeah.
There's like Bev is there and is like, oh, he has no vital signs. He is dead.
Yeah.
And then Jesus turns up and goes, oh, I can fix that. Which up until that point, he's just done healing, which might have been like a thing his species can do. And this is kind of our first giveaway that he's gone full Jesus.
Yeah.
I also want to refer to something, because this is at the point that he's trying to escape because he's realised he can't go back to his home planet. And they're looking for him, and Worf is on the platform typing something at the computer. And in the background, there is a warning sign on the wall. And I absolutely loved it. It's brilliant. It says, caution, variable gravity area.
I saw that. Yeah.
That's great.
I was like, if I get a pub, I'm putting that up.
I'm going to put something forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the cargo bay area.
Yeah.
Right. This is the cargo bay and also the shuttle bay. Yeah. Why would you ever have the gravity at normal if it's the place where you've got to move stuff around? Why would you not have it at like 20% so everything's easier to move?
Well, isn't that what the little pallet pushers are for? Isn't the grav?
But you could just turn pallets? The gravity down for the room.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, maybe they do that, and we just don't see those episodes.
Well, I know they don't, because there's a later episode where a barrel falls on Worf and he gets severely injured. That's the plot of the episode.
Worf really should stop going to the cargo area.
The problem with Worf has an issue, which is that Worf is absolutely an incredible warrior and incredibly strong, but as a result of him being incredibly strong, the best way to show how strong and powerful a bad guy is to have them beat Worf, which then has the problem that it makes Worf look shit. There's an episode later, I think, where he gets his ass kicked by a possessed Deanna. And he's like, unfortunately, when they put him into, when he turns up in Deep Space Nine, they've already done enough establishment that everything else in the universe is kind of dangerous. So Worf just gets to be a badass.
And it's kind of, we have kind of the opposite problem with Riker, because I truly believe that Riker is the hardest guy on the Enterprise that isn't O'Brien. And whenever someone beats Riker up, I'm like, oh, this is an actual problem.
Yeah.
But then people don't consider Riker to be the hard guy.
No.
Weird. Yeah.
No, but if Riker starts throwing punches, then I'm like, no.
Double-handed.
The double-handed act.
Yeah, as soon as Riker clasps his hands together, you know shit's about to go down. He certainly ain't praying to Space Jesus.
Have Lower Decks ever had a bit where they're being taught how to fight? Because it seems like that move, which no one would ever use in a real fight.
No, but they do reference that move fairly often.
I quite like the aliens in this when they meet them, because they like scan them, and Worf's like, well, they're pretty comparable to us. They've got like weapons. This might be a fight, and they're like, oh, we're the Federation. We come in peace. And the aliens are like, jog on.
Yeah.
Don't give a fuck, Starfleet. Piss off. Give us something back. We need to kill him.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and they're enough of an interesting design that it isn't just a nose thing.
No,
they've got other stuff going on. They've got other face business.
Yeah, but not enough that it's unbelievable that Bev wants to fuck him.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That's a fine line in alien design. So O'Brien's known. I just want to go back to O'Brien because of course O'Brien's known hobbies at this point are cello, bar fights, and wetsuit.
Apparently, kayaking is a thing that he brings up fairly often.
I know. Well, that's the thing, because I was like, this is... there was a point at me where I was like, this is silly. Like, this isn't part of the established O'Brien character. And then I remembered that I would say a solid 70% of O'Brien in Deep Space Nine is O'Brien and Bashir farting around on the holodeck.
Yeah.
It's like their favourite thing.
Because I've never been kayaking because the Earth has enough land on it. We don't have to have anything to do with the water. That is where the sharks live. But I forgot what my point was. I'm not even stoned.
You've not been kayaking.
I've never been kayaking, but I imagine it's quite a calming activity. For the most part. So, do you think that O'Brien was just recommended to do that by Troy after his 8th bar fight that day?
I think that Troy's recommended that he goes kayaking, and like as basically in her head, she's like, "Oh, I reckon he's gonna go out on like the holodeck version of Lake Windermere."
Yeah.
Or I don't know enough lakes to say another lake, so Windermere is the one I'm going with, right? And instead, he's loaded up like the Olympic level rapids.
Yeah.
Where he's just mainly so he can scream at the German judge for docking him a point on one of the gates. I don't really know. I've actually been kayaking. I used to do it a load as a kid, but I don't know enough about it at Olympic level to know what the scoring system is for the Olympics. Do you get points docked? If anybody who's listening to this knows more about kayaking, just keep that to yourself.
Hold on a minute. Laura? She's outside. She's outside the door. I can hear her. Laura! She had her chance. So, the river that runs through Dublin, the River Liffey, right? I think that's how it's spelled. But
the Guinness River. That's
the Dublin River, right? So I assume that O'Brien's holiday, like if you go in and you say, right, load up O'Brien Programme 6, is he gets in his kayak fairly down the River Liffey, And then he gets to the end of it, and the end of it is in Dublin at Temple Bar. And he gets to get out, order a Guinness. The bartender puts a shamrock on the top, a clover, not even a proper shamrock, a 4-leaf clover at the end of a Guinness. And then he gets to immediately turn in glass an American Tourist. I reckon that's his favourite programme.
The weirdest thing about it is, for no reason whatsoever, he set it in the Troubles. He didn't need to do that.
Which had very little to do with Dublin. Don't take this as any kind of like a clue, right? But legitimately, if there was a Star Trek actor that we were able to get on this podcast, we are not a million degrees away from Colm Meaney.
No, we're not.
I know someone who knows him.
Someone
who knows someone. Yeah. So we could get him on, and I'm like genuinely frightened to ask him in case he's like, I'll go through your back episodes to see what this is about, and we just completely stereotypically use him as just an Irish violent alcoholic. Which, to be fair, he never disputes in the show.
There's a series of podcasts I listen to from the lads at Cultaholic, and they're wrestling podcasts where they're going through old wrestling shows and watching them. So there's like a classic Raw review, a classic SmackDown review, and a classic Nitro review. And one of the lads from the classic Raw review recently came to London because there was a big wrestling event and there was a lot of people around to interview. But their running joke on their podcast is the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, running a series of incredibly poor business ventures. That's their running gag. That he runs various sites where you can buy food for. It's a running joke that's how stupid Bulldog is. But one of the people they lined up to interview when they were coming to London was Davey Boy Smith Jr. and the guy from the podcast was like, there's another guy from the YouTube channel who's doing the interview, and they came back and he was like, oh, so did you say hello to Davey Boy? He goes, no, the minute he came in the room I went and hid, just on the off chance that he knew anything about this, which he clearly doesn't. But yeah, I feel the same way. If I ever met Colm Meaney, even if I became friends with Colm Meaney, I couldn't tell him about this podcast.
No way. Not a chance.
And to be fair as well, I want to be clear. I think Colm Meaney is, with the exception of Patrick Stewart, I think Colm Meaney is the best actor in Star Trek.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
He's like the only actor who's been in Star Trek who I could conceivably see getting an Oscar.
Yeah.
All it takes is for Brendan Gleeson to turn down a role. Right?
Yeah.
And Colm Meaney to do it. And if you've ever watched Layer Cake, Colm Meaney's fucking amazing in it. He's a genuinely fantastic actor. That's why he managed to work his way up from Transporter Chief to Chief O'Brien of Deep Space Nine. He's chief engineer, because he was a great actor and fun to be around. And basically what I'm saying is we're sorry, Colm.
Sorry,
Mr. Meaney. If you're listening to this, we're sorry. But also, O'Brien definitely gets into fights in Tenboard all the time.
Yeah. There was a running joke. There was a podcast back when Harry Potter was acceptable. There was a podcast called I think it was called The Ringer, and basically they would go through the chapters of the books, like chapter by chapter. And their running joke was that everything that Professor McGonagall does can be explained by her having a crippling gambling addiction. And it really makes sense. Oh.
Yeah.
I don't really have any thoughts on this, to be honest. I thought I would have more. I mean, the gambit I was going to go with was, see, you'll listen to the fucking smoke alarm, but you won't listen when I shout on you. Christ on a bike. There you go, twice. Right. Just leave all this in. Can you hear it?
I can hear the beeping, and I can hear some squawking, which I assume is Laura.
I hear Laura going, oh God. How you getting on, love? She's trying. Do you want me to help?
What I've got in my notes actually is here. It's something that I just thought
Hold on,
would be
I better go. I can't. I don't like the sound of my loved one struggling. So I'll be. Oh. Well, she's managed to get it sound quieter. Hold on. I've got a big stick here.
I should point out, I'm assuming the big stick that Mark's got is going to be used to deactivate the fire alarm, not beat Laura into silence. So
let me get the button pushing stick.
So this is podcast gold. We have a Patreon, of course. Go check that out. Patreon.com/Captain Slog. We're on YouTube. There's a link. It's youtube.com/ I think it's Captain Slog there. You can see all of these in video form. We usually upload them the Wednesday after they go live on the podcast feed. We've got a shop. There's a link to that somewhere. It's probably in the bio of the Twitter feed or on the YouTube. I'll admit, Mark's nearly returned. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I did take a moment to make it clear that I assumed you were using this stick to deactivate the fire alarm and not beat Laura into silence.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, right. Okay, I have got one thing in my notes, right? They've got this bloke on board and he's got no memory. And then and everybody grows to like him. And then the Zarkonians show up. Wouldn't it have been funny if he was a nonce? They go, yeah, that man's under arrest. Well, why? Well, we need to know what to turn him over. And he's a horrific sex criminal.
I mean, it would be like if we found out that the very if we discovered that the evolutionary leap in human DNA or RNA that allowed us to fly or even better, no, it completely cured the human ability to not be able to fight cancer was in Jimmy Savile. Was in his remains. Like, how would we deal with that?
Well, fortunately, I think we could dig up his corpse and bother it without feeling too bad.
Yep, agreed.
The bad guys have a force choke weapon.
Yeah, that was cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, they didn't fire lasers. Like, everybody starts going, and then Jesus heals 3 people, and then he touches the ship, and that heals everyone. Apparently.
Yeah.
So
he heals the ship. Yeah.
Yeah, could have done that. Jesus could have just touched the earth and.
There actually was a really cool effect, and I don't know if it was intentional or if it was a TV budget. When he touches because it's the sort of the touch screen, the black touch screen. When he touches it and he sends a wave of energy through it,
mm-hmm.
We see images on it as the wave passes by, and it's ship diagnostics and things like that. And it's a super cool effect. And I don't know if it was intentional or if it's just that's what they light up to look like, and it was literally the only way for them to be able to do it.
Yeah.
If it essentially was a mistake that turned out to be something quite interesting looking.
That's probably. One assumes that's a screen with a backlight with a slide-in panel.
Yeah.
That they can.
It's got to be in it.
Yeah, that's got to be the only way they could have done it.
Yeah, because they don't really reflect onto people. Although that's why they had to put. Doesn't matter.
Oh, also at the end of this, really good for just everybody on the crew having something to do, because they meet them and Worf scans them for the capabilities. They have a chat with them. Deanna's no, they're definitely serious. They're scared and stuff. And there's a lot of bev through the everybody kind of has something to do. Even Worf gets to die.
Yeah, this episode is one of the episodes in the genre of Mark's catchphrase. Oh, Troy's in this one.
Yeah, this is one of the episodes that definitely people who go, oh, what's the point of Troy, could point at this one and go, I also going to say, I'm guessing this episode largely gets forgotten by Star Trek fans because of what episode is next.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I literally, like, for the first time in ages, I made a concerted effort to go on Memory Alpha to get all the trivia for this episode, and there's fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's clearly an episode. It's done to save the budget for other episodes, because there's very little in this. Like, it's mostly people talking in rooms, and that's fine, because what happens literally next week, after finishing this mapping survey, Picard is going to get a call. Yep. Yeah, I cannot wait till next week.
I can't wait. I'm sorry that you had to go through this episode to get to the next episode.
Yeah,
James and Leader.
Yeah. But yeah, next week's episode will probably be good.
Yeah, I imagine pretty good. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, I mean, we got the 55 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, it might not be technically. You might have to have cut out.
Oh no, that's
4 minutes when me and my wonderful life partner couldn't figure out how to get a smoke detector to shut the fuck up.
No, I used that to plug the Patreon, so just staying in. But yeah, bye.
Bye.